What's up, A to Z Sports Titan Game Day Live, the post-game show. After one of the bigger beatdowns in Titans history, 52-14, the Titans blanked yet again in the second half of a game, and all hell has broken loose. Just about anything is on the table to be discussed, as the Titans are officially 1-6. We knew they were on their way to being 1-6 at the halftime show, but my goodness, the Lions keep on rolling, and the Titans have a date with the New England Patriots next Sunday in a suckfest game that has a lot on the line potential. So we're going to talk through a lot of different things. Welcoming everybody. I'm Austin Stanley with Easton Freeze, our Titan Game Day shows here on A to Z Sports every pregame, halftime, and postgame show. Every game, regardless of how bad the record might be throughout the season. So, Easton, before we officially get things off and going, tell the fine people what they got to do.
Folks, you got to like the show. You know, I'm running out of reasons to convince you to like the show. Besides,
it's not our fault.
Besides that, it's not our fault. You enjoy our content. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. I mean, we're going to have to start hiring a guy. Like, is a like going to be a cover charge at the front door? Because I don't know. To get in here, you're going to have to like the show. Just please do us a favor. We're at a charity case at this point. Hit that like button for us. And then we can be mad at everything you want to be mad at. We'll stay here and rant about whatever you want to rant about. You just got to like it for us. So hit that like button on YouTube, on Facebook. And if you're watching with us over there on Twitch, join the comments.
Yep. So let's get it going officially. Before we get going, welcome into A to Z Sports Titan Game Day Live, the post-game show. Got to thank all of our great partners here for Titan Game Day Live this season. X Golf Nashville and now in Murfreesboro, the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee. X Golf, play, train, entertain, play xgolf.com. BetMGM, log in today and get your Pro Football Boost Pack to acquire tokens for even more winnings. BetMGM, an official partner of the Tennessee Titans, and T-Dot, be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. So, Easton, it was a 35-14 halftime score. And I think one of the things that I said on the way out was like, hey, will they score in the second half? No, they did not. Easton, you texted me and said, hey, I got something to kick off the post-game show with. So the floor is yours, Easton, on what would you like to kick off the post-game show with?
No, it's not even a real thing. It's just that on the way out the door at halftime, we're scrambling. The kickoff is happening, and you're like, Easton, anything else to add before we get out of here? And I said, please don't stick to 14. Like, score another point, Titans. And they didn't score another point, which that's the reason that I asked, is because it was not hard to see that as a possibility. Unfortunately, it is what happened. The game, you could say it got away from them in the second half, but unlike last week, it really was already away from them after they didn't score on that first drive of the second half. So, disappointing. I don't know where you want to start with this. I'll say this.
Mm-hmm.
If we all take a deep breath and we take a step back and look at this on paper, this result. On paper, it is exactly what we all thought was going to happen. And
is it though? Like, I mean, like,
the way that it happened isn't exactly, but the ultimate result is exactly what we thought was going to happen.
No,
right?
Because
it was worse. The score was worse than we thought, but the result, what we all thought, generally speaking, was the Lions are going to kill them, and they should lose for the sake of long-term this team. Those two things happened. Now, the reason we're all upset, I'm not trying to erase the fact that we're upset, is because we all said they're going to get killed, and yet it's funny in hindsight to think, well, we didn't think they'd get killed that bad, and they did. And then, there's a lot of coaching things that we're probably going to talk about here on the show. That second half, I think the majority of the ire for folks comes from the first half. Do you think that's fair? Because in the second half, it was just kind of, I felt myself just kind of like, whatever. The game was over.
Yeah, it became real comedy, right? It became comedy. And it's like, okay, at this point, like, how deep into this game will the Detroit Lions have more return yards than they do offensive total yards? Pretty deep. Actually, I haven't checked the final score.
Can we start there? Can we start with teams? Because we're all going to agree on that. And we're all going to be mad at each other later. So let's start with the thing we agree on, which is teams.
We will start with special teams. Khalif Raymond, Titans legend, absolute revenge game on the Tennessee Titans, as Khalif Raymond has a receiving touchdown, and a return touchdown. I'm trying to scroll back to his stats. Khalif Raymond had 5 punt returns for a total of 190 yards and 1 touchdown. Khalil Dorsey had 1 kickoff return that went 72 yards. So simple math tells me that is 262 yards of return.
On
now,
6 returns, right?
On 6 returns. Yes, and that is
pretty efficient returning.
Let's look at the total offensive yards, Easton. What is 61 plus 164? I'll just tell you, less than 262.
It sure
so
is.
The Detroit Lions finished the game with more return yards on 6 plays than they had on offense the entire game. Now, part of that is because return yards allow you to just skip a bunch of offense.
Right.
And I think 6 plays, and what is that? What's that average? What's 260 divided by 6?
Let's find that out.
40 something? 44?
It's going to be
43
60
and a half?
Wait, that can't be right.
43 and
yeah,
a half.
40, yeah, I plugged it in wrong. 43 and change.
Yeah, how about that? That's pretty smart. So
I should
43 and a half yards per return. Abysmal. The Titans also had a touchback to start the second half where the Lions did them a favor and didn't make them do anything, yet they still got an illegal formation penalty on the kick return team. So I think we can all agree. We can all agree that Colt Anderson has to be fired.
He's the most fired man in America.
The special teams coordinator has to be fired. Yep. If he is not, there are massive problems. But there is no way that a special teams coordinator can survive this type of game after what the first 6 games have also shown us, right? There is no other option for Brian Callahan.
Right. And there's I saw I forget who. There was a former Titan, may have been Derek Mason, tweeting about this in the middle of the game. Just about how this thing and we're going to talk about it later with Brian Callahan, I'm sure, but like as fans, where we put culpability, how much of it is on the players and executing and how much of it is on the coaching, the play calling, and just the general discipline that a coaching staff instills, right? And that's a thing that's always going to be hard to really put your finger on for sure, and people are going to debate this forever. And so it is true that like individual players on special teams are completely abandoning their lanes, having zero discipline, making stupid mistakes, playing really, really poorly. But I find it impossible to alleviate Colt Anderson of massive blame for what it's almost even if you want to say it's 100% the player's fault, just from a PR standpoint, from a narrative standpoint, you got to get rid of the guy. You cannot keep him on your staff going forward. You can't do it.
Yeah. No,
because it's him at the end of the day. He said it himself a million times to us in press conferences. It's about all he says, actually. It starts and ends with me. It's on me. So and you got to go, man.
Then it should also be Colt Anderson's opinion that Colt Anderson no longer needs to be the special teams coordinator of the Tennessee Titans, right? And I think here's the interesting aspect of this, because this is where you're going to learn something about the first-year head coach, because there is one person that Brian Callahan brought with him from the Cincinnati Bengals staff to the Titans staff. It's Colt Anderson. So there is history there outside of
the weakest hire at the time, in my opinion. I don't know how you felt about it.
Well, I thought Nick Colt was probably the weakest hire at the time, because
I wasn't a huge fan of Holtz, but like just resume, Colt Anderson's resume was blank. Yeah, for sure. Right. But like there were people that thought in Cincinnati that Colt Anderson was a good up and coming special teams guy. He's not ready for whatever the role and the job represents. Yes. But outside of Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan's father, and Nick Holtz, who is Brian Callahan's high school teammate, Colt Anderson is the one that's got the most history with the head coach. And so it's not going to be an easy decision, but you're going to learn something from your head coach, whatever happens. If Colt Anderson is fired, then good. That needed to happen. If he is not fired, then now there is some red flags about not being willing to move on, because we all know the last head coach, and I don't want to get into the last head coach. I don't, but he had a rule, right? That I don't make these decisions in the season, right? Until he had to, until the other special teams coach with initials CF
Craig Aukerman was fired. That is something that had to happen. And so now you've got to move on from Colt Anderson as a special teams coach. It is the easiest way for Brian Callahan to buy a little bit of what? Just people siding with him, respect. I mean, not respect, but just a little bit of grace, like that he was willing to do that. Because that's, that.
I mean, it's just when you're a head coach and every single human being on the planet knows what you have to do, you have to do it. It's not hard. At the moment, by the way, I'm furious at the Titans for making us talk about this slop when there are like 7 amazing games going right now. Jaguars coming back, Colts came back, Patriots came back. Cedric Tillman just caught an amazing touchdown pass on my TV screen.
Hey, look at this. Deshaun Watson's first game not starting. The Browns are the last team to score 20+ points in the NFL this year.
And they did it today, didn't they? Yeah. They're about to get to 30 points.
Yeah. Crazy.
Almost like he was the problem. Anyways, all right. So we all agree on special teams. I think we can move on. Colt Anderson has to go. They're the worst special teams unit in the entire league. It's not close. Have to do it.
Yes, we have to move on. So what we will do is we talked about that. Now we have to get to the one-word question. We always ask, what's the one word to describe this Titans loss to the Lions? We've talked about Colt Anderson. We don't have to do anything for special teams firing him or anything. We've already talked about this. So what's one word to describe the Titans' 52-14 loss to the Detroit Lions? We'll get to that here in a second. But T-Dot is where you should turn. T-Dot's doing a lot out there for our state. Are you ready to be rewarded for helping Tennessee stay clean? Join Nobody Trashes Tennessee's Trash Masters program, the rewards program, by signing up. You can earn points for every action you take, from taking a litter quiz to participating in community cleanups. And those points, you can redeem them for fantastic prizes like discounts, tickets to local events, or exclusive Nobody Trashes Tennessee swag. It's Nobody Trashes Tennessee's way of saying thank you for keeping our state beautiful. Visit NobodyTrashesTennessee.com and become a Trash Master today. You can earn points with that. It's the only points that will be earned after halftime for Titans or their fans. So one word to describe this loss to the Lions. Easton, I will send you to the chat. What is one word to describe this 52-14 loss to the Detroit Lions?
Seeing a lot of very colorful verbiage being used here. How about delusional from Ty, pathetic from Michael, ineptitude from David. That's a good word. Pathetic from Willie. Disaster times 100, according to Kathy. Comedic from Danny, like you said earlier, Austin. Tank from Brad. Varsity, as in high school varsity, from Lane. Unbelievable. I find it rather believable, to be honest with you. Self-inflicted, says Carrie. Putrid, says Sue. Halloweeny, says A.Theo. Let's see here. Numb, garbage, abysmal, frightful, lethargic, expected, effortless, expected, something I can't say, embarrassing, heinous, expected, 2014, quit, pick, I think in reference to the first round pick. So, I think a lot of words that are all in the same vein there.
Yeah. You got a word?
Sure. I'll go with a hyphenated word, kind of cheating. I'll say
That's fine.
brand. I'll say on brand. Just because I wanted to say predictable, but we already pointed out that I came into the game saying this is the first game in I can't remember how long that I'm certain they're going to lose. I'm certain the Lions are going to kill them. It's a nightmare matchup, and even I didn't expect it to be that bad. What's on brand about it is not just was it predictably a blowout, but the nature, the historic nature, by the way, of the fact that, and I should pull this up, the Lions in this game became the first team, I believe, in NFL history. Let me double check here. They are, yes, the first team in NFL history to ever score 5 touchdowns on drives of 30 or fewer yards in a single game. And that is mostly due to special teams, also thanks to a handful of convenient turnovers in their own territory. So turnovers and special teams. Just maybe the word I should have used, Austin. I'm gonna add, we make up the rules on this show.
That's fine. Yeah, you can change.
Sloppy. Sloppy is the word I'm gonna use, because I tweeted like a million times during this game, and I think I used sloppy more per capita than any other word. This is just a sloppy football team, man. It's special teams. I think generally speaking in the NFL, a good way to gauge the buttoned upness of a team is their special teams. I think historically we can all agree on, the best, most buttoned up teams have buttoned up special teams units. And so their special teams, turnovers, obviously the easiest way for a game to get sloppy for your team is to give the ball away. And then penalties. This Titans team continues to kill themselves with penalties, largely from the same position groups, might I add. Just every single week, penalties at the worst possible times. I don't know the full game. I know at halftime they had 7 penalties for 55 yards. Sloppy game. An on-brand sloppy game for the Titans.
Yeah. I'm looking up the team stats here, so I'll give you a second and I'll tell you the penalty total for the Titans, because it was really, really bad. And the Lions
after half it slowed down, but still
8 for 60. So really only one maybe penalty, one or two in the second half. You know what it was? It was the freaking
it's the first play of the half, wasn't it?
Yes, illegal formation on the kickoff. That was a touchback, which is just the comedy in it.
And
comedy's
you blame them for not knowing how to line up on a return.
I think that's the second time. I think it's the second time.
I know it is the second time. I know it is. I don't know which. It was either last week or the week before. It was after the bye, but I know it is the second time.
Yes, on a touchback, on a play that didn't just do nothing, just nothing, away yards. And you are better yards than what you decided to do. Mm-hmm. My one word was going to be basement, but I didn't think it was strong enough. I'm going with dungeon. Oh, the Titans are in the dungeon. They are as rock bottom as they can possibly get. This is rock bottom. You just got slapped in the face and mocked and laughed at. Tiny Khalif Raymond, shout out Mickey Ryan. Tiny Khalif Raymond just walked all up and down the field on you for a historic day. The Lions had 6 different people score touchdowns. They had a couple different people throw touchdowns. And they were just laughing the entire way. Yeah. So this team is in the absolute dungeon. And they're down there where it's wet. There's mold growing. There's a lot of crap down there. You're sitting in slop. You don't know how many people have died down there. People have had to urinate in the corner.
Oh, no.
It is they are in the dungeon.
So there are a lot of different types of dungeons that come to mind. You're visioning a
medieval times
1200s dungeon.
Yes, yeah. Medieval times. Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that is the dungeon.
I saw some people in the comments unclear about what kind of dungeon. This is a not a fun dungeon. The worst kind of dungeon.
No, there is a dragon in the castle of the dungeon that you are in.
No.
And at some point you might be fed to it because the dragon needs to eat and you at least have flesh. And so I think the Titans are just absolutely lifeless. I mean, they are a joke, right? This is the lowest that they have been since the guy went viral for wearing the Santa Claus hat with a mustache, and they got walked by the Packers with a 55-0 maybe. This is that. Yeah. There's just not a fan meme to represent it.
I was listening to a national show earlier this week, Austin. They did a segment entirely about, early guess to who gets the first overall pick. And they listed all of the 1 and 2 win teams. And they forgot the Titans. That's how forgettable this team is this year. Is that in a segment literally about them, they forgot that they're in the running for the first overall pick.
Yeah. That's how irrelevant they're in, because they're in the dungeon. They're locked away. You get forgotten. Oh, crap.
Of all the people in the dungeon, of all the dungeon dwellers, they're in the back of the room.
Because the people that are in charge of putting people in the dungeon still feed them. Right? It's like they slide it under the gate door, and it's just the nastiest slop. And so you got forgotten that you were down there because you're not alone in the dungeon. You're in a dungeon cell with a couple other teams. And so, but your door forgot the slop. You didn't get to eat today. And that's exactly what the Titans are right now. They're irrelevant and forgotten in the dungeon.
How can you not just laugh about it? Let me encourage any Titans fan that is genuinely seriously depressed over this team. Just choose joy. Just choose to. I do a lot of laughing on this show, and it's not because there's a lot of happy things to laugh about. You have to laugh at this. Don't let the Titans ruin your week every week. Don't let the end of 2024 be a bad year for you because of the Tennessee Titans. Don't do it. Choose happiness.
Yeah. I see somebody commented that Buck just posted a video of Callahan talking about. Here it is, Sean John. Buck just posted a clip on, and Callie refused to talk about Colt Anderson. Yeah, it was never going to happen. Like
He's
the
not going to
Colt
talk about him
Anderson,
now.
yeah,
No.
Colt. Brian Callahan's not going to fire Colt Anderson in a post game press conference. That would be amazing if it happened, but it's not.
I think that'd be super irresponsible. I mean, talk
It
about
would
bad
be.
leadership. Yeah.
Oh no, it would be irresponsible, but it would be amazing theater of the mind, a
This is
theater
true
of the
for
league,
us.
right?
For us,
But it would
suppose.
be unprecedented if he did that in a post game presser, which he's not going to do. But like, so
When you hear like leave, don't even let him on the plane. Leave the guy in Detroit. Like you can't actually leave the guy, guys. You got to bring him back and then fire him when you get back home.
Unless it's Lane Kiffin, because he legitimately got left on the tarmac.
You know what? Well, there's always exceptions, I suppose.
Yes,
but
yes.
It's not a good look when you do that.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal here. All right, so
we're next, Austin.
Okay.
What dangerous
I
soil
think we
should be
should
trod?
go. I think we should go to super chats because we're going to talk about Mason Rudolph.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Mason Rudolph here in a second. We're also going to bring up the irony of the X Factor question that you answered here in a second too. But I'm going to go to some super chats here. King VC says how the Titans lost is what he's mad at. Khalif Raymond, yeah, Khalif Raymond.
You should have seen this coming after the Malik revenge game. How did you not see the Khalif Raymond nuclear game coming?
So Khalif Raymond had just 2 catches for 14 yards because the Lions only threw for 94 total. 1 touchdown.
Wait. I think my parlay hit. Now that you say that, remember my nerdy computer parlay? It did. Jared Goff had 1 rush. Tony Pollard had more than 15 rush attempts. Khalif Raymond under 2 receptions. You just said, right? 2.
He had 2.
Yeah, under 2.5. So he had 2. And then David Montgomery under 13.5 rush attempts. I think that's right. So that was like plus 1,200 if you took it. How about that?
Nah, good for you. We'll talk about my bets in a second. So, but Khalif Raymond, 2 catches for 14 yards and a touchdown. And then he just ran all over the place because he had 5 punt returns for 198 yards. I'm sorry, 190 yards. Averaging.
What's the single day punt return record? Sorry, you go ahead. I'm going to look. Like that's got to be
single
close,
game,
right?
Yeah, single game punt return yards record. That would be. I mean, that's got to be like Devin Hester type day.
Sure.
So you keep looking that up. I'm going to keep going through some super chats. Mike Vrabel's burner. Worst thing that can happen to the Titans would be to lose Denard Wilson. They need him to make him interim so they can make him head coach after the season. So I mentioned at the very top of the show that almost everything is on the table. I don't think Brian Callahan being fired is on the table right now. I don't think it is. They're 1-6. They're bad. They're in the dungeon, like I've joked about so many times. But I do not think firing Brian Callahan is on the table. You have your answer for most punt return yards.
What was the number for Raymond today?
5 for 190.
190. So that was the fifth. That is now the 5th most punt return yards in a single day in NFL history. Wow. Nyheim Hines had 195 with the Colts. Eddie Drummond 199 with Detroit. George Atkinson 205 with Oakland, and Leroy Irvin 207 with the Rams.
207 is the record.
That's the record. So he got. I mean, if he had just not fair caught that one.
No. They had one called back. They had one.
Oh, that's right. He had like 40 something yards, wasn't it? He would have shattered it. Wow. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, it's called back. Richard Jr. says, I think we blame the Titans defensive coordinator for not letting a Titans defense sack Jared Goff. Defensive coordinator must be the only one to go. What the hell are you talking about?
Wait, what did he say? What?
I don't even know. I think we blame the Titans defensive coordinator for not letting a Titans defensive sack Jared Goff. Is this bot? Is this an AI
that can't
person?
Be real. That can't
what
be real.
The hell did
Thanks
I just
for
read?
Spending fake money.
No, but AI doesn't spend money. That's one of the things about it.
This one does.
Shout out Baron Davis rocking the headband. Again, the Titans downgraded when changing coaches. Again, my stance on this is just because I thought Mike Vrabel earned getting fired doesn't mean I'm pro whatever the hell this is. Right? Like,
right.
Darren says this is deeper than being screwed by J-Rob and deeper than not having a quarterback. There's negligence and incompetence all over, deep in this building in multiple places. Yeah, it's moldy.
In the dungeon.
Yes, I agree, Darren. It is really bad. Do you have any thoughts on that comment?
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts are, if your point is that everybody is at least somewhat culpable for what the Titan season has looked like, I agree with few exceptions. Tony Pollard is a gorgeous, beautiful, clean as the driven snow baby boy who has done no wrong for this Titans team. You may not besmirch his name. Other than him, am I leaving anybody out here, Austin? That's been perfect. I mean, Tavondre Sweat close.
No. I mean, he might. He's not. He hasn't. Like, Devondre Sweat hasn't done anything that's just like stood out of like, oh my gosh, that was terrible.
People don't want to talk about it. Roger McCreary also in there, but not like Pollard. Not like Pollard.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the bright spots, it starts with Tony Pollard.
Nick Folk, excuse me, Nick Folk, also untouchable.
And don't forget the other Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Those three, yeah, Nick, and Tony are untouchable. The rest of you are all in timeout. Nick Westbrook-Akine, by the way, him and Tony Pollard lead the Titans with 3 touchdowns apiece. NWI, last I checked, has 4 receptions on the year. 3 touchdowns, 4 receptions. 5 now. Excuse me. It's going to really hurt his percentage.
They're all first downs or touchdowns.
That's right. 2 first downs, 3 touchdowns.
2 first downs and 3 touchdowns. Yeah.
Good thing Traylon Burks played a lot to begin the year, though. Kept that guy off the field.
Dude. Kicker to the King says Malik Clutch chose Mason over Malik. I'm done. I mean,
can we move on?
We have to, because here's the other thing. Matt LaFleur is really good.
Malik's in an awesome situation, guys. Yes. An awesome situation.
Nando says Malik has beat the Jags, Titans, and the Colts. That is correct. I mean,
that's funny.
Malik. He came in late and they won the game today. He didn't start it. But
I don't care. I'm allowing it technically because it's funny.
Yeah, I mean, Malik, I'm really pumped that Malik's getting to do this, but the Titans did not make the wrong decision to keep the quarterback. It's like they did a favor by allowing Malik to do this.
It's Apple. You can't compare the situations. You literally cannot. It couldn't be more different. No,
not at all. Not at all. I mean, Arden Key today, I saw a comment that brought up Arden Key. Arden Key today was great. Now do it again.
It looks like a guy that wants to be wearing blue the rest of the year.
For sure. Terrence says officially had the number 1 pick after the Browns and Patriots won today. Did not need to mess that tank up. I mean, but you got the Patriots coming up next. I don't know if that's correct or not, but it might be.
Check.
It might be. Just a lot of things are obviously happening at the same time as we're live here. But A to Z Sports here on this post-game show. As you're looking that up, let's talk about Mason Rudolph. And get into the game a little bit, because the whole point of this pregame show was we're not trying to say, are they going to win this game? All that kind of stuff. We're talking about competency. And so I do want to grade Mason Rudolph's performance today. So if you have an opinion on it, let's grade Mason Rudolph. He threw the ball 38 times. He was only sacked once. 22 of 38 for 266, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, sacked once, also ran the ball 4 times for 29 yards and 1 touchdown. So I'm curious of like how you guys would rank Mason Rudolph. If you haven't yet, please like the show on Facebook and on YouTube. Hit that like button. It goes a long way for us. It's about to be a disaster out here in the Titans land, but hitting that like button helps us out quite a bit. So I'm going to start reading through some grades, and then Easton will come back and see what your grade is on this. So Guy Man says C-. And, Koss says Mason still gave away the 2 interceptions. Memory Mix says B-. Like I said, is a C-. Willie Madden is a C-. Lane says C+. That first pick was bad. I mean, yes. Brad says D. Alex says D. Too many turnovers, but it is what it is. Koss with a C. Derek with an F. Connor and Justin are in the D range. God's Child says C+, a C. I think the majority of what I'm seeing, I don't think I've seen anything higher than C+. They're mostly C+ through D with a few Fs out there. D+ through 2 bad picks that swung in the favor of Detroit. Chris Head, C, still better than Levis. Daniel says C, stop fumbling. Did Mason Rudolph fumble today? No.
Other players did a couple times.
3 other guys did. Jaquan Jackson, Chig, and Calvin Ridley fumbled, but Mason Rudolph didn't fumble. So let's at least not bury the guy for his teammates.
He did last week, not this week.
Yes, but no. So 2 interceptions, 266 yards passing, 1 touchdown in the air, 1 rushing. The only 2 touchdowns on the day for the Titans. So, Easton, how do you grade Mason Rudolph's game today? The whole game, not just the first half, but the whole game.
Yeah, by the way, just a standings update. I did find it. The Browns and the Patriots do move ahead of the Titans. The Titans currently sit at number 2 overall behind the Panthers, who are playing right now the Broncos. So if the Panthers win, the Titans will be in first place, but worst they can do, or best, however you see it.
How you say first place.
First place at this point. Listen, enter the spin zone, man.
They're in first place for the worst.
Enter the spin zone. Yeah, there you lead the pack.
Grading Rudolph.
Right, yeah. What did we give him last week, Austin? C minus? C plus?
I don't remember.
It was a C something. Chat, what did we give him last week? I'm trying to grade consistently based on that. I think it was
we both said C plus.
I think we said C plus too.
Yeah.
So I'll give him a B minus. That's kind of where my head was at anyways. I think B minus is appropriate. I think he did a lot of good things, and he made, again, it was kind of a Levis-y situation where I saw people text me like, Levis was patient zero. The boneheaditis is spreading like a sieve across the NFL. All these quarterbacks acting like Levis. He did some Levis-y things, but generally, I can think of just as many, if not more, really impressive Mason Rudolph plays in that game than I can really bad ones. The first interception was making sure, that was his worst play of the game for sure. That was really, really bad. He had time in the pocket.
First interception was his worst play.
Yeah, if I'm remembering the order correctly, the first interception was when he had all the time in the pocket and then threw it right to the defender.
When he got hit, he got hit. That was when he was like trying to dump it down to Wiley, and he got hit.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Yes, bad play in my opinion. Worst of his day. The other one, a bad interception, but one where he just got fooled by a good defender who was spying it all the way and read it, and that's tough. If he had maybe a little more zip on the ball, he gets it there in time, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just it's a bad interception, but it's a good play for the defense, so it's kind of tomato there.
And he did stare down pretty hard.
It was. I'm not alleviating him of fault there by any means, but I think he did. He moved the ball well. Refreshing myself on how many yards per play passing they had. It was a good day passing overall. He finally was the first person to unlock Calvin Ridley when they were still in the game, and that was impressive. And he was throwing with anticipation for the most part. So I don't know. I think B minus is appropriate. Austin, what do you give him?
Yeah, I think he was. I think Mason
yards per play passing. By the way,
I think Mason Rudolph played admirably today. I think like the guy stuck in there, made some really nice throws.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 interceptions were gross, yes, and in the second half, it was just like whatever. Like there was a point in the game where he had 4 incompletions. He was like 12 of 16. Mm-hmm. And the 2 incompletions were bat downs. One were NWI, good defensive play. The other one, Ridley could have come back to the ball on that 3rd down and got it broken up. And then the other 2 incompletions were interceptions.
Right.
So, man, I kind of want to give Mason Rudolph a B, but I do think
that's give you a hard time for it. I mean, I gave him a B minus, so it's it's right there.
Because I think you look at it. He completed 2 passes to guys who fumbled the football.
True.
In Chig and Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
A
couple drops in there as well.
Yep.
It's like second down there at the end of the half. He had a touchdown in out of the hands of a tight end.
He made some really nice throws into contested guys, to NWI down the sideline, to Ridley down the sideline early. I think the hard thing is that they could not get in the end zone right before the end of the first half. I think that really killed it, because if you go back and look at the play-by-play of everything, the second interception is what ended the game, because the Titans had the ball down 21-14.
Mm-hmm.
First play of the drive, pick. 4 plays later, 28-14.
Right.
And then it was just done. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. So I'm going to come off of my B, because that's like, I think it's a tough assignment. He's in advanced placement AP quarterback right now with what he's got going on around him. So I'm going to say, I still think B minus is where I do think for the second week in a row, I agree with you.
Malik Willis is in remedial quarterback right now. So we're on B minus together.
B minus, yeah, I do. I think B minus is correct.
Man, as much as it takes a mental toll on me when we have weeks like last week where you and I are screaming at each other and everyone in the comments is actively calling for me to be fired from my job, calling me an idiot, telling me I don't know what I'm doing and that I suck at everything. As much as that can bother a person mentally, I'm honestly sadder on a day like today when you and I are just having a low-key conversation, the chat not calling for me to be fired or for anybody to lose their job besides Colt Anderson. The melancholy has settled in, and it hurts my heart because at my core, I'm in on the debates. I'm in on the heated sports talk, and we've lost it here because we've all just been beaten down.
Well, it's because you don't suck as bad as Colt Anderson. It's an
all-time backhanded compliment. All time.
Jameson says, even Austin's standards has dropped. Doesn't know how to grade a quarterback because he's watched bad quarterbacks who play. I mean, I think there's something to that, to be honest.
That is true because in the grand scheme of the NFL, that was not a B- quarterback performance.
No, but I'm just looking at the situation around him, right?
Right.
Like, I think it's a tough freaking test. So all of a sudden, as soon as we're going through that, we have like 3 to 4 comments in a row. Jameson, Callahan's nonsensical play calling at the end of the half killed any chance at a comeback, even though we would have screwed up at some point anyway.
Here we go.
Bustin' Diamond. Are we going to talk about the 4 plays at a shotgun on the 1 yard line? And Frank, what about the last 4 plays of the first half? So,
all right, you want to get angry? Let's get angry.
I went ballistic at the halftime on the halftime show. And so, if you guys want to be able to relive my pure, organic, in the moment and reaction to that, then you can catch it the first 6 minutes of the halftime show, because now it's been 2 hours. I've walked, processed all the things. It was bad. And I don't understand why it was handled the way that it was. But to recap and to go over this, Brian Callahan, the Titans offense, had 1st and goal at the 1 after pass interference. They had 1 timeout and roughly, I think, 33 seconds on the
30 something. Yeah.
30-ish, right? Under 40, above 30.
Mm-hmm.
It was the correct decision to throw the ball on 1st and 2nd down. It was the only decision.
Right. So we agree there.
Throw the ball on 1st and 2nd, because just for the audience, because you cannot get tackled in bounds. And so you have to do shotgun so you can avoid a sack easier and see the pass rush. And you have to throw it into the end zone. And so it can either be an incompletion or a touchdown. Those are the only 2 results you can live with on 1st and 2nd down. On 3rd down from the 1 yard line, this is where Brian Callahan failed. And I don't understand why. And I will look to see if there was a question about this in the post-game press conference. But I said this on the halftime show with a lot more energy than I have right now, that on 3rd and 1 from the goal line with 20-something seconds left and a timeout in your pocket, you get your ass under center and you run the football. Whether you want to show like you're going to hand off Tony Pollard, or I think you should quarterback sneak it, because Mason Rudolph picked up some good yards on a quarterback sneak in the second half when the game was already in. But Mason Rudolph, give him his 2nd rushing touchdown of the game. Why don't you? So if you do that, if you run the football on with your quarterback, which is the most underutilized play in football, is the quarterback sneak, in my opinion, or you just hand it off to Tony Pollard. Best case scenario, touchdown, 35-21 at halftime. Worst case scenario, you get no gain, you'll lose a yard. Now it's you use your timeout, you let it run all the way down to the 2-second mark. You've got 1 play, 2 seconds on the clock from like the 2 yard line at worst. Now go score a touchdown with whatever play you want to do that you've got saved for your 2-point conversion play to get a touchdown. But instead, they threw the ball from the shotgun on 3rd and 1, another incomplete pass. They took their timeout to the halftime show with them for nothing and wasted an opportunity to make it 35-21. Would it have changed anything? Probably not. But it's still a bad moment for a head coach that also has other people that are supposed to be helping him with those type of management situations. And Easton, so you agree with me on what that was, right? Like you agree that they should have done under center, show run, something different on 3rd down, right?
So yeah, that's what I'm sitting here disappointed about, because I thought we were finally going to get fired up. And it's a bad day when I can't even cape for Brian Callahan or Will Levis out here and make people mad in the
No,
comments.
I got to follow up for you. I got to follow up.
Okay. Well, just to be clear, if your point is, because again, a lot of the comments we got were, let's talk about the 4 terrible plays at the end of the half.
Yeah.
It sounds like you and I agree. It was actually one really bad play call at the end of the half.
Third down.
Because he did the right thing on 1st, 2nd, and 4th down. The 3rd down, disagree with that. I do want to go back and look just to see what the look looked like. But in general, in the moment, I'm with you.
Don't care.
At least, you don't actually necessarily have to run the ball, but you at least have to
show
run. I think you have to at least show run.
I think you have to run the ball, because if you if you're under center and you try to play action, then you could get sacked and make 4th down even tougher.
Fair, but there's some cute goal line tricky things you can do out of a run look that end up, leak somebody out, whatever.
Yeah.
The point being, being to at least, because they didn't telegraph that at all, right? It was pure run. It was pure pass all the way, all 4 downs.
Yeah.
I do slightly disagree with it being a terrible look, because again, I understand where his head was at in that moment, because again, this team, I'm going to go back and look this week. I'm not sure, just outside of a quarterback sneak, which your point is they should have sneaked.
That's the play.
I get it. But outside of that, on 3rd, any end one that they've had, I'm not sure they've converted a single one running. They have yards on most all of them.
Yeah.
So I get what he was thinking in the moment, but I also am with you that they should have. I guess my point is they should have snuck, because I would have been mad if they had just run. I'd have been mad at that. That's the only thing I want to lose. Thinking about it, just sneak the ball.
Put Julius Chestnut's strong ass back there and do the tush push.
Sure.
Right? I mean, come on, seriously. That's what.
So what's your follow up that's going to get us fired up here? What's your follow up?
Again, I don't know this, but that is a situation where the head coach, first time head coach, calling plays for the first time, could have used more experience, or maybe where a non-play calling head coach would have said, we got to run the ball here, because they're not worried about calling the play. The head coach gets to manage the game. That's where the risk of being a play calling head coach is missing this type of stuff, because they're too in the trees. You see what I'm saying? I don't know that. I'm just saying, that could be an example of it.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just thinking of all the examples of non-play calling head coaches that do the same things. So, I'm not sure if it's actually proof positive that he's got too much on his plate, because we see plenty of non-play calling head coaches also do these kinds of things.
Or he just doesn't have enough people around him to. He needs it. We're stretch. We're stretching.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and maybe that's a good line of questioning this week, is to try to really hammer out what the support system looks like explicitly, because we know the names of the people, but who does what, when, where, and why may be interesting. I agree with your first part, because what you started that take with was that he's a first time head coach who is still doing first time head coach things. There's just still, my
first time play calling things. Same time.
Sure. And so I don't know what to do with that information, because I agree with you. That's what it looks like when you're a first time play calling head coach and you're like, this happens. The fundamental reason why I am a big Brian Callahan believer and continue to defend, obviously, to shut down and think it's ridiculous. Anybody that wants to fire him now, I think it's outrageous. But more importantly, why I still believe that I think that he is going to succeed as a head coach. I do. I believe that firmly, is because what the primary thing you hired him to do, which is be a strong offensive coordinator head coach, do the offensive coordinator head coach things. The scheme is there. It's working. The concept is there. And when it works, it really works. It's just like a faulty light switch. This team's flickering in and out.
Yeah.
I think the bones of what he does are all good. And so while I agree that it's the things like time management, clock management, general management of the team and the sideline, all of that can absolutely improve. Not to mention there are a handful of his decisions this year that I definitely disagree with and have said so to his face. I think the bones of what he does is good.
I don't think you're wrong. I think the football game planner that is Brian Callahan is really good.
Sure.
We agree on that. It's the head coach is not good right now, because they're 1-6. And so I think that is where it's hard, because I think it's easier. I think it's easier to learn the head coach stuff rather than easier to learn the mad scientist stuff.
Oh, that's not an opinion. That's
Fact,
like
right?
that obviously, yes. This is why teams are constantly hiring maybe even slightly underqualified head coach guys, because you're not that's the secondary thing, is that
That's what you can learn. Like those things are
yes.
learnable, coachable things.
And those things
for a
do come with
coach.
time. Yes, is learning how to manage the sideline and the clock and all of those things. Mike Vrabel is never going to figure out how to become Kyle Shanahan calling plays. Doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, for sure. And Kyle Shanahan's a great example of a head coach who struggled mightily with the Niners for the first year and a half ish, 2 years or so.
Well, then think about guys like Sean McVay, who still to this day, every single week, fans are like, man, this guy's a wizard with his offense, but his timeout management, his clock management blows. Like, if you don't know that, it's true. The Rams don't care, because that's like, you're willing to live with that because he's a wizard with your offense. That's the whole point.
All right, so we went through the X Factor, and I want to point out some irony in the X Golf X Factor from the pregame show. But real quick, man, you guys are looking to do some other stuff here as you watch our content. You should always watch our content.
It's time to diversify those activities.
If you want to have some fun while you're watching football and not make football the only thing you're doing, you can go do that with X Golf in Nashville and in Murfreesboro. They are the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee, and it's a great sports bar that has the best golf simulators on the market right there with you. So playxgolf.com is the site to go look it up, to book a bay, to have you and your friends, you and your family, just buddies, to go play and watch football while you're eating food, drinking whatever you want to drink. You can do that with X Golf Nashville, whether it's Monday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, whenever football's on, X Golf is a place to go. State-of-the-art golf simulators with any course you want to play. They've got it right there. Playxgolf.com. So Easton, in the pregame show, instead of asking what's the X factor for the Titans to beat the really damn good Lions, the question was, if the Titans do win, how did it happen?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the irony for, if the Titans beat the Lions, how would it happen? I think my answer would have been, you probably return a kick for a touchdown. You get a bunch of turnovers that give you short fields. You maybe have a trick play that has a running back throw a touchdown in the end zone. And you basically do exactly what the Lions did to the Titans.
Oh my God.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, Austin. You're not wrong. That's crazy. I hadn't thought about that. It's really upsetting. Good point. Great take. I'm not sure what we do with that information, but I think we can all agree with it.
That's all it was. It was just meant to bring this up, that the Lions did everything that the big underdog does to upset the big guy, right?
Yeah. Do we want to wrap this up? I have a parting thought. That's all I have left to contribute.
Let me check. Let me check if
you have other things we can.
We don't have any more super chats that we haven't gotten to yet, so I can be done if you want to have a parting thought to wrap.
I'm happy to keep going. I just don't have any more thoughts on my end to contribute to this conversation.
I'm good. I think we all established that Colt Anderson, the special teams coordinator, deserves to be fired, and that needs to happen very soon.
It's not even deserves isn't strong enough. He must be. For the sake of the Titans, he must be. Because there are plenty of guys that deserve to be fired that don't get. He must be fired.
He must be. Okay. Because we will not be talking on the air. Buck has his primetime show. Then we'll have the morning show at 8 Central. What is the cutoff time for Colt Anderson to be fired? But I think this is fair. Right?
Keep going. What is done? That's the question.
What is the cutoff time? Yeah. What is the cutoff time? Like, when is it like, oh man, is he actually going to do this? If he is not fired by blank, we are worried that he's not going to be fired this week. What is that cutoff time?
Yeah. I mean, if we don't, because it's important to note, there's a difference between when a person is fired and when it's public that they're fired.
Correct.
So if we don't know that he's been fired by the end of the day Monday, if that's not on Twitter by the end of the day Monday, then I'm starting to worry.
End of day Monday.
Yeah. because they get back, they do all their reviewing on Monday, all the coaches meet, it's kind of a debrief, and then Tuesday, no practice. So like that's kind of it's a reset to move forward on the Tuesday. So like if you get to Tuesday and there's no practice, so all the coaches are like game planning, getting ready for the next week, and Colt Anderson is a part of that. That's when I'm concerned. And people are saying like Monday lunchtime. Again, like I think it's perfectly within their own possibility that Colt Anderson is fired when Brian Callahan tells him, when you get in Monday, come see me, fires him at the beginning of the day Monday, and then it's made publicly.
I mean,
there's
a chance it could happen. Like the plane lands in Nashville, and
we could know by the end of today. It's not impossible. We could know that by the end of today.
Yeah,
but right. I'm just saying
the deadline.
Worst case, yeah,
the public deadline. I think I agree. In today, Monday. That's when I would start to get concerned. But I think the ultimate, like, it doesn't matter. I think if it's not until, it could bleed into Tuesday publicly, right? I think it could happen. So, all right. So you wanted to go ahead and have a parting thought or what before we wrap this post-game show up?
Yeah, just a parting thought. Sure.
Bring it on.
Just that, to use the words of somebody in the Titans organization that I spoke to this past week, the Titans have now successfully completed 2 games against 2 super mega contenders in the Bills and the Lions. Nightmare stretch for a Titans team that's floundering and trying to figure things out. They now move forward to Patriots and then Chargers, I believe they have after them.
Patriots, Chargers, Vikings.
Yeah. So Vikings we'll get to that. That they may or may not still be a super mega contender.
Sure.
Losing 2 games in a row, trending in the wrong direction. We'll see. But that's not to say the Titans are back in business now. It is to say that in terms of what the Titans can still accomplish this year, which we know it's not like trying to make the postseason, but it's about momentum moving forward. This coaching staff demonstrating the reason why you hired them, the reason why you stick by them going forward. Like that's where this can kind of, it feels to me at least, maybe you disagree, that there's been a lot of gasping, desperately trying to tread water the past 2 weeks. It's tough when you're a new coaching staff, things are already going poorly, and then you play on the road 2 consecutive super mega contenders.
Yeah.
They now get a chance to show us that now that we can breathe a little bit and play somebody a little bit more on our level, here's what we can do. Does that make sense? So I think there is reason to stay plugged in if you're a Titans fan, because now you're looking, if you're in the maybe we should fire Brian Callahan camp, you need to watch the next 2 games to form that opinion.
Yes. Now what's being put to the test is previously this season, teams that lose or play the Detroit Lions are 0-5 when playing the next week. Yeah, the Titans are going to put that to the test. Huh?
I'm going to be writing about that when we're done here.
Yeah, I mean, because they play one of the easier opponents.
Definitely.
Following playing the Lions.
But also that opponent just beat the Jets, who beat you earlier in the year.
Yeah,
and a desperate Jets team. They beat them, which you want to talk about a show that 5-alarm fire right now. Every Jets show in the world right now is panicking.
Absolutely.
All right. Anyways, all right.
I think that wraps it up for this post-game show. Appreciate all of you guys for being a part of this. I know it's not exactly fun to do a post-game show where your team loses 52-14, but thank you guys for being a part of it. Do want to thank all of our partners on the way out as well. Make sure you like the show if you haven't already, but also shout out to X Golf Nashville and Murfreesboro, the home of indoor golf in Middle Tennessee at playxgolf.com. BetMGM, log in today to get your Pro Football Boost Pack to acquire tokens for even more winnings. By the way, my 5 bets, I went 4 out of 5.
That's a good day.
All I missed was 14 receiving yards from Jahmyr Gibbs, and I would have had a heck of a day. But I had a very strong day regardless. And then also T-Dot, be part of the solution to end littering and make sure nobody trashes Tennessee by visiting nobodytrashestennessee.com. We'll catch you guys tomorrow morning on a Monday. Buck Rising live tonight. I want to say 6 p.m. Central for Buck for prime time because Buck is in Detroit, which is Eastern, which means he will be live at 6. And I don't know what time his flight is to get back to Nashville, but stay tuned to Facebook and YouTube for Buck's primetime show. See what his thoughts are out of the locker room. If you did not watch Buck's post-game show after the Buffalo game last week, it was spicy. I can guarantee you this one will be just as spicy. Maybe add another pepper to the menu item on that one. So Buck will be live tonight later on. It should be good. So appreciate all you guys. Have a great rest of your Sunday. Content coming. A2ZSports.com/Titans. A2ZSports.com/Titans for all of our articles and video. Brian asked, when is it? When is prime time? I want to say 6 p.m. Central. But if you're subscribed to us on YouTube, you're going to get a notification. So we'll catch you guys later on. Have a good Sunday. Thanks.